I'm Corbett Wall with DV Auction, here with the cattle market summary for the week ending November the 18th, brought to you in part by the International Brangus Breeders Association. Maternal excellence is one of the qualities that Brangus cattle exhibit. Brangus females offer stayability, longevity, calving ease, shorter gestation, early breed back, and they milk, but they don't milk to excess. Maybe it's time for you to go Brangus. For more information or to find a breeder near you, visit gobrangus.com. Boy, a big week in the cattle business here this past week, and big movement in the fats and the feeders, and a big slaughter, and just everything looking on the positive side, on the fundamental side of the cattle business. You look at the board, your live cattle futures wouldn't have done anything this week if it hadn't been for Wednesday, because other than that, it would have been absolutely unchanged. You start out Monday down 2 cents. Tuesday was down 10 cents. And then Wednesday, right after they had the big fat cattle trade, shot up 2.72. Thursday back up the 2 cents it lost Monday, and Friday up a dime that it lost on Tuesday. So ended the week with the December live cattle at 108.32. That was up 2.72 for the week, and which was up on Wednesday that much. But going to be looking at February probably from now on. Most everybody rolling over to February, and it ended the week at 108.85. Your feeder cattle was up most of the week too. Monday was up $1.30. Tuesday was up 70 cents. Wednesday up 2.30. Thursday down 40 cents, and Friday up a nickel there to end the week at 124.97, up 3.95. You look at your fat cattle trade, which we said it started out on Wednesday morning. We knew that these packers were going to be hungry for cattle. They came in a week ago Friday there and did some late trade, trying to get some numbers put together. They normally don't have to go out after these negotiated sales like they have, but this calendar year is going to be probably the first time that we've seen an increase in negotiated sales for several years, many years. But they're just slaughtering that many more cattle, and so when you got a big harvest like that, you got to have more than just what they had on captive supplies. And this month, November, we knew that they were a little shorter on captive supplies than what they normally are, and they are sure showing it. They're having to get out there and get some cattle. They come in pretty aggressive on Wednesday there, and just kept rolling up their bids there until they finally started getting all the cattle they needed. But ended the week there, most of your live sales, especially in the southern plains, were $3 to $4 higher, from 108 to 109. We did see some 110 in the northern plains now, because we're seeing that big spread between choice and select carcasses. They're needing to go after some more of those higher quality grading cattle up in the northern plains. And the dress sales up there were $6 to $8 higher, mostly all at 170. But through Thursday, there was 143,500 head, not counting a few cleanup sales on Friday, which we'll find out here later this week. But you look at that, and then we had that Friday sale just a few days earlier. So in less than a week, there were over 220,000 head of negotiated sales, and that is a big movement for such a short time span there. You look at your box beef cutout values, they were kind of disappointing this past week, but did have decent movement there. Choice carcasses, your average on the weekly sale was 182.98, which was down 249. Selects 167.63, down 259. And you see that spread still sitting big there at 15.35 for this time of the year, because getting people wanting to go in there and then buy those rib cuts for their big holiday gatherings there. But slaughter this past week was huge, 629,000. That's 19,000 more than last week, and 58,000 more than the same week a year ago. And that's a very impressive slaughter there. But you look, we got a lot of protein on the market. This past week on the hog slaughter, they had 2.531 million hogs slaughtered for the week, which was 137,000 more hogs slaughtered than the same week a year ago. So we're just seeing how much protein's on the market. But you look at your cattle on feed report that come out on Friday there, and it was maybe the one thing that wasn't really bullish. I wouldn't say it was bearish, but fairly neutral. The only figure of the three that wavered from what the analysts had predicted before it come out was the marketings, and they missed those a little bit to the high side. So you could say that was just a touch on the weak side for the cattle market anyway. But November 1st inventories, the actual come in at 99% of the year ago, which was exactly what the analysts had predicted. Placements come in at 95, which is really a light placement for an October, because normally we see a lot of cattle moving, but you just think the way the weather was, the way the forage was, the way we had a lot of ample hay around, and the market dropping like a rock, guys just didn't sell their calves. They just held on to them. So we saw 5% fewer placements of feeder cattle into big feedlots, and the analysts had predicted that right on too at 95. Then the marketings come in at 105 actual, and they had predicted a couple percent more than that marketed, because we have been, again, going through these fats pretty handily there. But and I always wonder how the analysts that really research that stuff can miss the marketings so far. They don't normally miss them, but even when they miss them a percent or two like they did this time, you know, we know exactly how many cattle we've slaughtered every day. That's reported, and if you're keeping up with that, it's hard to see how they can miss that when they do. But and that's probably not going to weigh too much into the market. I would say things are going to be pretty bullish again coming in early in the week, but got to get the work done early this week, because we got the holiday coming late in the week. But expect heavy receipts early in the week on your Monday, Tuesday sales. Most of your Wednesday sales are going to be closed and on through the rest of the week. But you know, like Joplin, Oklahoma City, I know Joplin's expecting 11,000 cattle here on Monday, and Oklahoma City have a big run too. But then it'll really tail off late in the week. But look at your cash feeders for last week. Yearling sales, which there's not a lot of true yearlings out there. There's a lot of giant, heavily backgrounded and supplementally fed calves, which aren't near as much fun to feed as an old agey, dried out yearling that really go to town. But the few yearlings that are around, and most of them are backgrounded, because most guys haven't had true yearlings out on grass still. But steady to $5 higher on your yearling trade. Calf trade was $5 to $10 higher, and really saw guys coming after those calves, especially in the southern plains, because all the wheat pasture that's really popping, and the wheat just looks excellent. Even though we haven't had a whole lot of moisture in the last couple of weeks, we got just enough moisture at the right time to really make that wheat pop, and it looks rank, and guys are really trying to buy something to go out there and go after it. And with your feeder board up as much as it was this week, this past week, it was easy for them to have confidence coming in there and buying those calves, thinking that they're still going to be worth something whenever they come off here next spring. But you know, I said that we had big auctions last week. It was the largest weekly auction receipt so far for the calendar year. So everything's ramping up, but I think we're going to see bigger and bigger weeks here right after Thanksgiving, because there's a lot of cattle left out there to sell. And so we expect those to come in. It could affect the market, but we've got all this demand coming together for your feeder cattle and calves. We've got the good wheat demand, which guys are going to be a little late getting those things turned out, because they really would have already liked to have had them turned out. But the ones that have the flexibility to turn out when they want, they'll still be coming after those wheat calves. We've got harvest wrapped up now, and so we've got some farmer feeders in the northern plains going to be coming into the market, and all of a sudden we've got this big weather change, which nobody really wants to see wintry weather and not into fall and not close to the holidays when they want to travel and everything. But we finally got some cold snap there, some real hard freezes, start getting rid of some of these flies, some of the airborne illnesses that people have been fighting and having trouble getting the calves straightened up. It's going to be a lot easier to straighten calves up from now on, because most all the country has seen a good hard freeze, and it kills a lot of that old stuff that just carries those diseases around. And now with the weather change, we're going to start seeing some of those ranchers that haven't sold their calves bringing those things to town. They've still had them out on the grass. They know they've got to save that grass for the cow herd Quit wasting hay and things, holding on to those calves, waiting for the market to go up. The market has come up. We've got enough receipts and things going on now that we're probably not going to see a whole lot more rush to it. It's going to be very active, but if we get in here on some big heavy receipts and get some of these holes plugged and these outlets plugged full of cattle, then you're not going to see a whole lot more big dollar gains for the rest of the year, probably on these feeder cattle and calves, and most of your feeder cattle are going to be calves too. But you look at market there on Friday, Bluegrass Stockyards in Richmond, Kentucky. Some of you guys think maybe down southeast they don't have big sales, or they don't have big offerings in some of these sales. You check out there at Bluegrass in Richmond, Kentucky, at 120 head of 834 pound steers. 2 loads of them right before noon there on Friday bring 128. That's a pretty good test of the market. So if you've seen this report, I'm not sure how you found it, go to DV Auction on Facebook and like it, and you can find it there. You can also find it at dvauction.com when you check out our production sales schedule and our weekly auction schedule. And we can also find this report every 3 times a week on the Stock Exchange News. So from a home office here in Canyon, Texas, we'll talk to you on Wednesday.